Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. This begs the question, why are we here at UW-Parkside? We may not be here with the intention to change the world, but I think it's safe to say that we are here to challenge and better ourselves for our respective futures. That alone has the power to change the world. However, therein lies the dilemma. Our Governor, Scott Walker, has in recent times dealt a heavy blow to our state's education system. I wish to explain to you the dilemma we face by elaborating on Walker's actions against secondary and higher education, while at the same time explaining his justifications for his actions. But I hope to get across to you the problems that we face, why we should be concerned, and what we can do about it. In my survey of the class, the consensus was unanimous that education is necessary for the growth of a nation. All responders who attended public school also agreed that it was beneficial to them. And all responders also laid claim to tuition costs as a major roadblock towards access to higher education. Yet, more than half of you disagree that education should be free. I won't manipulate you into thinking that free education is a must, for I personally think this is an unrealistic goal, but I do wish to strengthen your resolve in the fight for affordable education. The problem lies in Walker's plan to privatize schools. He proposes that privatization will lead to higher educational standards for the state. He also did these things as a means to balance the state's budget. To do this, he took two major actions, Acts 10 and implementing significant budget cuts. In an effort to nudge schools towards privatization, he pushed Acts 10, which is a bill that greatly affects the quality of education of our state. He implemented a pay freeze for teachers with master's degrees. Keeping them at a lower pay grade. This disregards the time, money, and effort that a teacher has put into their career and will affect many graduates' decisions to pursue a master's degree. According to this chart that I found published on the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, on the right we can see the percentage of teachers already affected by the pay freeze. And on the left, we can already see a decline in student enrollment in master's programs. Under Acts 10, teaching licensure is also essentially meaningless. In order to become a teacher, one must acquire a license. This signifies that the teacher has received the proper experience, training, and education for good teaching practices. Under Acts 10, it allows for anyone with a major in a degree, an example, history, math, or English, to teach that without a license. This promotes an overall lower standard for educators to meet. Although Walker's end goal may be to increase standards via private schools, however, private schools are very costly, and this entirely limits low-income families' access to a sufficient education, allowing only for high-income families to afford it for their children. On top of a decrease in teaching standards in public schools, Walker has also made major cuts in funding for all public schools in Wisconsin. Walker has proposed a $300 million budget cut, and although this is only a 2.5% decrease in the overall operating budget of the UW system, this has caused a large loss of revenue that schools are struggling to meet. And this is addressed by Josh Conley, a professor of UW River Falls. On top of the cuts, Walker has also implemented a tuition freeze, keeping tuition rates at a stagnant rate to keep it affordable for students. However, this will only last for the next year or so. I found this chart on the Daily Kos, which is a political blog site, and we can see an obvious correlation between the decrease in state funding, the blue line, and an increase in tuition costs, the red line. After the freeze is lifted, we can project that prices will skyrocket. Chase Irwin, a professor at UW-Milwaukee, explains that the $40 million budget cut specifically affecting his school about equals their school's operating costs. And since universities can't raise their tuition, they are forced to drastically adapt. Meaning, many professors have and will be laid off, forcing the others to take on additional classes to make up for the loss of manpower. And this decreases the effectiveness of a teacher in the classroom. Walker has played a big role in the defunding, in the ongoing trend of defunding public education in Wisconsin, and his actions will impact our futures. The next question, what can I do as a college student? We all have little time with finals overtaking us, but if I have convinced you at all about the problems that we face and that we need to take action, I urge you to speak up and make your voice heard. You could write to a state representative voicing your concern, but I understand that few, if any at all, would do this. Instead, I propose something simpler. Here are a couple of petitions that I found on change.org that address the issues that I've just talked about. I will send you all links to these petitions after class. And I urge you to sign these so that together we can make our voices heard. Thank you.